Hi, my name is Raven. Welcome back to my channel. And if you do enjoy my content, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And today, what we're going to be talking about is the new book I got, Hocus Pocus, and the all new sequel. I am so excited. When I first got this book, I expected it to be like smaller. So this is like great. And I like the cover and the designs because the mailman was giving me it in a box, and then I was checking the box. I'm like, this feels a lot heavier. Then I opened it, and it was this, and I'm so excited. And what I also do want to talk about is that I'm going to be making another poetry book. It's called Healing. The Process is Not Over, because clearly my process of healing is not over, and maybe a long journey could be lasting for a very long time, but it's good. And I just want to talk about like if you're ever feeling like you're at your lowest point and no one understands you, and if you need any type of help regarding like your mental health or whatever, um, even if you have to go to medication therapy, or if you're just the type that will smoke weed to you know help yourself, then I'm all for that. Whatever you gotta do to have yourself get better, that's great. And I had wrote on my Facebook a couple of days ago, I think, or yesterday, can't remember a lot, um, that I was feeling not well, that I felt drained, and that was having to do with a specific person, which I have figured out that specific person was a trigger for me. So when that happened, usually with this specific person, my anger goes up tremendously high. So I take some medicines at night for my depression and psychosis hallucinations. And I thought, well, why don't I just add my anxiety pill in there? Because I know my anxiety is going to go real high. And the problem with my anxiety pill, I don't take it as often, or I hardly even take it. The only times I take it is with this specific person triggers me. So I took it, and I woke up the next morning feeling horrible, like really low. Like I just wanted to sleep, and I didn't understand because I was like, how can I be tired if I slept the whole night? But I was still tired, so I had to, sleep throughout the day with that until I felt better, which, made me realize that mental health, it is real. It's a real thing, and sometimes it's hard to get out of it. I just remember feeling like just completely out of it, like kind of almost feeling like not worthless, in other words. In that moment, not wanting to do anything, and that's like a horrible feeling that I do not wish on anybody, but I do think we need to talk about it because it does happen to a lot of people. And I wish there wasn't so much of a stigma around mental health, because I feel like it's an illness like a physical illness, and it's hard. And my poetry book is about my struggles with my mental health and also relationships and things like that. And I wrote it because I wanted to do more stuff about mental health and the struggles I'm going throughout my journey. And it's crazy. I'm still going through the editing of the book, but looking back on the poems I was writing like weeks, months ago, even, I was like, wow, girl, like you really going through it. And it's the truth. It's what it is. Like I was in a dark place for like several months, and I still feel like that. And it's a continuous thing, having to try to fight every day. And I don't really want people like to feel sorry for me or anything like that. I just like want you to understand, like support me, but not make me feel like, oh, you know, she's going through symptoms again, or she's sick, or she's a monster. Like that's just crazy. But enough of me rambling about that. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is read the first chapter of this book. So this is how it looks for part one. Then and a quote from Winifred Sanderson. Now I cannot do my voice like her, so don't judge me. But it says, "On All Hallows Eve, when the moon is round, a virgin will summon us from under the ground. We shall be back, and the lives of all the children of Salem shall be mine." Winifred Sanderson, October 31st, 1693. Last words as recorded in a journal of Samuel Paris. And here's the map of Salem. And this is where the story begins. Wild Things, Salem, 1693. The world was full of wild things then and brim, with oak and hemlock and dark whispering places that turned you round and round until there was no turning back. The, the woman folk said that on early mornings near a harbor you could hear echoes of the witch sound, which sounded like the bird sound but more better. You know what that song is. Like I'm gonna try to sing it. Don't make fun of me. Come, little children, I take thee away into my land of enchanted. The men folk said God, godliness would save them from any witches, but they honed their axes and twisted new rope just the same. The witches said that there was nothing so sweet as the shine bones of little girls, or perhaps a well raised scapula with sparrows bleed compote. It was all in the preparation. They lived near town, the witches, but not so near as to be a bother until a milk cow died or a child took sick. Then the town would start to mutter about the Sanderson girls, Mary and Sarah, and especially Winnie, whom have not been girls for a very long time, but whom did not merit the title ladies. Someone always intervened. "They're no bother," someone would say, "just bratty girls playing in the woods." "Leave them be," someone would say. "Don't you remember how kind their mother was and how generous?" It's all made perfect sense at the time. But once the people of Salem left the town meeting and went back to work, not a one of them could remember who that someone had been. That is until Emily went missing. Salem, 1993. "Knox, Knox," said Danny, grinning up at her 16-year-old brother as she trotted down the sidewalk. Leaves drifted through the air around them, the slips of yellow and broad, shaggy orange things the size and shape of their dad's hands. And the morning was just starting to break open and turn the world gold. Max rolled his eyes and swung his bike in a big loop to match her slow progress. "Can you please not?" It was Halloween, and the houses on both sides of the little neighborhood street were decked out with cobwebs and tombstones, giant spiders, and jack o' lanterns, some of which were already starting to sag a little with mold. Danny giggled as she ran through the pale tendrils of a ghost horde gathered in the tree. "Tatas," she said a little louder. Her pointed black hat sported a thin orange trim around the brim, which matched her sun-patterned jacket and striped skirt. She dressed as a witch, but in her own words, a fancy one. The grin she gave Max through was more imperish than witchy. Max glanced behind them to make sure the street was still as deserted as when they had left for school. Seriously, Danny, not the place. He should have known better than to talk about Allison Watts to Jack because Jack still lived in Santa Monica, and Max's house had a shared phone line and a nosy 8-year old. Yabos, Danny squealed. Max blushed hard, looking over his shoulder. "I'm going to leave you," he said. "Find your own way to school." He spun another loop, catching too much speed on the turn. He stopped short before hitting the curve. Danny stopped too, eyes sparkling with mischief beneath the brim of her witch's hat, a few strands of tawny hair stuck to her red lipstick. "Then Mom will ground you forever," she said. "Maybe that wouldn't be so bad," he muttered. Danny put a sympathetic hand on his shoulder. "Oh, don't be that way," she said. "Then how would you ever see Allison's bazookas?" Max groaned, leaning forward over his handlebars. "Please stop," he begged. "It's not even like that." It sounded a lot like that. She tugged on his sleeve to get them moving again. Max relented, bike wobbling as he peeled slowly beside his sister. "That's why you shouldn't eavesdrop on people," he said. "You lose context. One day you'll know what that means." "Does it mean you saving up to run away to Jack's house and become the next X-ray glasses? Because I heard about that too." "The X-ray specs? You know I don't have to walk you to school anymore if I don't want to." It was true. One of the few perks he's been promised about their family's move from LA to Salem was that they lived far enough from school that Danny would qualify for a bus pickup. But the previous night she said the bus made her lonely and she begged him to bike ahead and meet her one stop early so they could walk the rest of the way together. He agreed against his better judgment. She was still his little sister after all. As long as she's been going to school, they've been walking together. But now he was paying the price for nostalgia. "But you do want to," said Danny, dancing through the graveyard on someone's front lawn. "Or you would have said no." She stepped on a button, and a plastic corpse with matted black hair sat up with a shout, making her shriek and race back to the sidewalk. As they rounded the corner, Max saw the top of the hill, the skinny blonde and the no neck bone head known as Jay and Ernie. In the 2 weeks since his family moved to Salem, Max had avoided any run ins with the town bullies, but he could already tell they were the kind of boys whose kindergarten teachers searching for something nice to say during a parent teacher conferences would have settled on persistent. Jay and Ernie's lace keys seemed to appear out of nowhere as they staggered down the middle of the road, the embellishments on their fox leather jackets glinting dully in the morning light. Said Max, wheeling around. I think Mom told me that they're handing out candy at the side entrance. He felt bad about lying to Danny, but she'd get more than enough airheads and pixie sticks later. Hey, she protested as they approached the annex door. There's no candy. But her brother was already gone, speeding off towards Jacob Bailey High. Salem, 1693. It was not unlike Emily Binks to stray so close to the wood. Her mother had often scolded her for doing precisely that, though she tried not to scold too hard, for her 9-year-old Emily was a serious child and Pisces pegging through her prayer book without minding where her footsteps took her. Emily was old enough to know the rumors about the Sanderson sisters, but she also knew that whenever she ran across any of them in town, they were kind to her. It was rare to see Miss Winnie or Miss Mary or Miss Sarah smile, what with their crooks back and twisted dusty faces. But when they noticed her, they beamed and clapped. Well, Mary and Sarah anyway, and praised her. Pink cheeks and pretty hands. Her mother never praised those things for fear of encouraging vanity and sin. Even skeptical Miss Winnie would pat Emily's shoulder awkwardly and tease that she should return to her mother. Least Winnie eat the little girl right up. All this to say that Emily was not afraid of the wood as others were, and was especially less afraid of her brother Thackeray, who was like her best friend. Elijah was 7 years older than Emily and of an age where boys found anything at all to do with girls or women highly suspect. So when the wood began to creep into her dreams, it didn't startle Emily. In her dreams, the field between Salem and the trees smelled of warm hay and fresh flowers, and it waves of trailing sweet grass tickling her arms and legs as she walked. In the dreams, the edge of the field ran right up to the edge of the wood, and then stopped as if the perplexed about where to go next. In the dreams, the wood was cool and welcoming, and the air tasted faintly of damp, soiled, and crumbly bark, a taste that seems as sweet as an almond cake to young Emily, for it promised an adventure to rival her well worn copy of Pilgrim's Progress. Thackeray had begun to dream of that place too, that knife's edge between the world he knew and the world of witches. But his dreams were thick with moss colored smoke and the press of hands upon his skin and the taste of sweat and vile and river muck. The dreams made him wake night after night more tired than the day before, but he didn't tell his parents or his sister or even Elijah, for he feared that the dreams meant something dark about his mind or worse about his heart. Emily didn't tell because she was afraid her mother might scold her for letting her imagination run beyond the pages of her prayer book. And the other children didn't tell for their own reasons, each of them more personal than the next. Salem, 1993. Max was kneeling beside his bike, trying his shoelace, when a shadow spilled over his shoulder and onto the grass. He tensed, expecting Ernie's hot, pickled breath to hit his shoulders any minute. To buy time, he undid his laces and tied them again carefully. The pristine white toe and accents of the otherwise black Nikes started to blur as Max considered the best way to slip away unscathed. He wasn't about to let some mouth breather spit on his new sneakers just to get a rise out of him. He only got in them as a pity gift from his parents when they announced their surprise move to thy place with the witches' trials in Massachusetts. You dressed up? Max turned to see Allison Watts smiling down at him. He glanced down at his shirt. A burst of tie-dye swirled up at him. I didn't actually, he said. Allison smirked. Just that California lifestyle. Max grinned. He hated when other people made lame California jokes. But Allison earned a pass because she helped him find a chemistry lab on his first day. Not that he expected her to remember that now. Allison was the kind of person who helped classmates with homework in the hallway before first period, who always waited the appropriate amount of time before answering teachers' questions, which turned her into a classroom hero instead of a show off, and who had an intensity about her that made Max feel he wanted to be part of her story. He could tell that she became someone great one day, a president or an inventor or the CEO of a company that made flying cars. So when Allison cracked a joke about California, Max frowned. That's it. Made his stomach flip in a way that interfered with his ability to grimace. He opened his mouth to introduce himself, but no sound emerged. That day, like the past 3 days, he thought about asking her out, but then he thought about her rejecting him and how he had to awkwardly extract himself from the situation, which made walking through the town with his sister howling about bazookas sound like a fun weekend activity. Allison watched his face, which must have been cycling through the expressions of both hope and a bit fear when he still didn't speak. Her smile softened while she said, I'll see you around, California. Bye, Max called after her. He told himself she was a human being, not some unworldly goddess. He told himself he should just talk to her, but the thought made him feel the way the ferry ride to Catalina Island had on his ninth birthday, weakened and queasy. How was it possible that he had fallen for her so hard in just 2 weeks? As Max shouldered his backpack and walked up to the concrete steps, he cut past 6 of his classmates, all of them crowded together and gossiping about the old Sanderson house at the edge of town. I'm telling you, we should go there before the party, said a girl in an orange turtleneck over the turtleneck she wore, a slouchy blue sweater patterned with pumpkins. No way, whined her friend, who wore a red vest over a white sweater and looked more excited for Christmas than Halloween. She leaned against the front steps metal handrail. I'm not going anywhere near a house. It's creepy. Max had to agree with the second girl. He'd seen the Sanderson house the previous weekend on the right, and its rotting walls and saggy windows seemed to be peered out of the woods as he cursed past. He also noticed the close indefinitely signs tied along the wrought iron fence that separated the Sanderson house as much of Salem would from the actual town of Salem. A boy who wore a brown sweater over a white shirt threw an arm around the shoulders of the girl in the red vest. I'll just have to hold you closer, Tessie teased, grinning. Tess beamed at him. My hero, she sighed, and then snorted as her head settled on the boy's chest. Their semicircle of friends laughing along with her, Max felt like the seed of a plan began to take root. And that is chapter 1. So let me know what y'all think. Thank you.